All-day conference tourney action is here. One of the best days of the year. We got ACC action. We've got some Big 12 action. We've got a whole lot of college basketball on the way, and you guys know the vibes. I'm coming today with 3 best bets. I've got 1 pick for you guys alongside 2 money line parlays. Those have been continuing to make us money, so no need to go away from it. Let's get into this slate, and let's have a day. This is the Free 3.
I love it, Noble. Noble, I also love your YouTube videos. I watched them while I was gone. That was fire.
But getting paid because yesterday we had a full sweep. By going under, that was just icing on the cake. Why are we going to go in such a weak AFC South? Unless we have the NBA Blowout Association.
Bang! Knicks take a 1-point lead with 13
When you hear the sirens, you know what that means.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
Good morning, my friends. It is your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag and make some money on this Tuesday, March the 11th. Well, yesterday, it wasn't the worst day here on the channel, but it wasn't our best day. Officially on the channel, we actually did have a winning day, a 2-in-1 day, but I did add a few plays a little bit later on in the day that kind of ate into our bankroll, and we're going to break down how we did yesterday here in a quick bit, and then also we're going to go over our 3 best bets for today. We got a loaded college basketball slate. Games are starting at 12 o'clock Eastern time at noon. Well, I think Cincinnati and Oklahoma State is our first game of the day, and we've got games going all the way through the last midnight. I think 11:30 is the last tip. So a lot of different ways for us to make money today, and yesterday we were able to kind of do it a few different ways. We won on an underdog, which we don't typically do, and we also won on a total. So yesterday we officially went 2 and 3 on the day with the added plays that I added to Action Network. So you can see yesterday late night we had San Francisco plus 14.5. We had that play here on the channel that cashed. We did lose on our additional money line parlay. I wanted to take Portland State. I told you guys in the video yesterday I wasn't a big fan of them. But throughout the day, I had some of my college basketball betting friends kind of talk me into taking Portland State. And Idaho isn't a good team at all, but they were able to pull it out, win that game. So we lost on Portland State there. And then also we lost on our Furman on the money line. And then I'd also taken Portland State in a parlay with Townsend. I know in the channel I gave you guys Townsend and Furman in a money line parlay. Well, I actually separated Furman into its own play, put Townsend with Portland State. So once I saw Townsend lost, I kind of ran it back with Portland State and UNCW, but that obviously hurt. 0-2 on those picks, and then Furman lost, and then obviously we got the over there pretty easily done. I mean, that over was flying over. So officially, it was a 2-in-1 day here on the channel, but the few added plays and how we broke it up, it allowed us to get to a 2-in-3 day. So not too bad. We were bound for a little bit of regression given how hot we've been, but it's okay because today we're going to bounce things back here. And as we look at this college basketball slate, we do have a lot of games and a lot of money line parlay opportunities here today. But before I talk about the money line parlay of the day, let's go for one side. And if I scroll down here, we can look here that the line's already moved at a 3 p.m. start time between TCU and Colorado. The line opened up at 1.5 in favor of TCU and it's now jumped up to 2.5. And this is a line movement that I do agree with. And normally I do not like to chase a number like this, but I will take the 2.5 here. And we're going to lock that in as our first best bet of the day. TCU minus 2.5. If I were you guys, I would shop around a little bit. You might be able to get it a little bit cheaper at still -2 or -1.5 on certain books, or you could just do a money line parlay. I was going to do a money line parlay with TCU and Cincinnati. Only reason why I did it is because most people who watch this show watch it afternoon, so I normally don't like to include a lot of the earlier games. You're going to notice that come baseball time. But if I was going to do this, I was going to do Cincinnati and TCU on the money line, but instead we'll just go TCU -2.5. And the reason why this is, it's just more of a fade on Colorado than it is anything anything else. You can see Colorado in the years 12 and 19. Meanwhile, TCU 16 and 15, not too shabby. But if you look at the conference schedule records, it's a huge disparity there. Colorado on the year is 3 and 17 in conference. Meanwhile, TCU, they went 9 and 11 in conference. So one team 3 wins in conference, the other team 9 wins. So TCU is clearly the better team here, and I also like it because of this guy right here, Mr. Jamie Dixon. He is one of those head coaches dating back to his time at Pitt, that he is one of those guys that you can bet on a little bit closer to March Madness type of time. And he's like one of those weird head coaches, like when he has a team that's supposed to do really good, we saw this back in his days in Pitt in the Big East, they sometimes used to kind of like fall short. But the years that they were supposed to like not be relevant, they would go on runs. I just don't know. So maybe that's one of the years, that's one of those things here for TCU this year. But I do like Jamie Dixon as one of those head coaches. And then if you look at this recent loss that TCU had against Colorado in their last game of the regular season, that might bring to your attention and say, hold on, Noble, why would you want to back them here? Because they really had nothing left to play for in this game. And actually, because they lost that game, they got the seeding that they did so they could play Colorado. So I'm not saying they threw the game on purpose, but I am saying that's one of those things in the locker room, in the huddle, where as a player, you understand that, hey, our goal is to come out here and win this game. But if we do lose it, it's probably not going to be the most catastrophic thing. And we're probably going to use it as a scouting report anyway, because we know we're going to match up with them right then again. So this was Colorado's Super Bowl right here. This was their senior night. This was everything for them. But you can see TCU won against them earlier in the year, 68-57. And on a neutral floor, I like TCU here today. KenPom has this as a 1-point win. Again, you could take the money line. TCU is the better team here. This is more of a fade on Colorado. The losing 4 out of the last 5 games down the stretch does concern me just a little bit. But when you look at the fact that all these teams they lost to were pretty much bubble teams, Cincinnati, bubble team, West Virginia, bubble team, Baylor, bubble team, and then Colorado, like I said, the game was irrelevant. I think Jamie Dixon's going to have those boys ready to play today. I like them to win today. Colorado, their season's been over for a little bit. They haven't really been too inspiring this season. So we're going to go TCU here on the spread for our first pick of the day. Now, our second best bet of the day is going to be our first money line parlay of the day. And the way that I did the money line parlays today is by time slot. If you were going to do a ladder leg and you just, hey, I just want to take one bet, I want 1 + 100, then I think there's a few ways that you could go about it today, by like taking Cincinnati on the money line and then waiting all the way to like Central Connecticut at 7 and then waiting a little bit longer to grab like Bryant at 9. Like there's a few ways that you could play with it. But for me, I try to keep it within time slots. So this way you could maximize kind of like the board here. So the first pick that we're going to go with here, or moneyline parlay, is going to be Kansas State, and it's going to be Vermont on the money line. So K-State is taking on Arizona State. Again, this is the first round of the Big Ten tournament, and Arizona State's actually the bottom seed of this bracket. The bottom 3 teams of the conference doesn't make the conference tournament, and right there on the cusp was Arizona State. They just squeaked in, and Arizona State's really just not that good of a school this year. And you guys know, if you've been tapped in here to the channel with us for the last maybe 2-3 weeks or so, we've been taking Kansas State pretty regularly because they've been a bubble team. After they went on this stretch here in the middle of the regular season, they grabbed our attention. We started fading them around here, but then right around the beginning of March, where they were starting to play teams like UCF, like Colorado, like Cincinnati, we were like, hold on, they're giving us a little bit too many points here, or they're counting this team out. And this is a this is a Kansas State team that is not a for sure in the tournament just yet. They're still on the bubble. So if they're still on the bubble, you need to string together a few conference wins, and no better place to do it is get this win against Arizona State, a team that you should win against, and then from there you move to the next round. And then I don't know if we pull up what are we in the Big 12? Let's see the Big 12 tournament bracket. If we look at the Let's look at the bracket real quick. Let's see who K-State will be playing next. Because sometimes that matters. Because, if you're not motivated to play, say, K-State, then they play Baylor. Baylor's out of all these next teams, Iowa State, Kansas, Maybe West Virginia you might want, but you really want, like, Baylor's probably the most beatable of those teams. And then you're going to go face Texas Tech, which is also beatable. You don't have to touch Houston. You don't have to necessarily run into the high-flying offense of Arizona. So for me, if I'm Kansas State, I try to grab this win. Maybe you can sneak this win against Baylor right here. And then from there, you probably have set yourself up to give the committee something to think about. So that's really what I'm looking at here in this matchup. It's been a struggle for Arizona State all year. If you want to go through the numbers, I mean, we can, but again, it's just been more of a struggle for Bobby Hurley's team. They've lost 4 straight to end the regular season, and then really when it looks at, this is 6 games, so they lost 10 of their last 11 games down the stretch. I don't want to back any team like that. I'm sorry. So for me, it's going to be Kansas State on the money line. Now, the second team that we're throwing in here is Vermont. Now, if you want to do McNeese on the first half, again, if you want to play around some of these teams, you can. I'm not touching UNC Wilmington because Delaware is the team of destiny right now. I'm actually rooting for them, so hopefully they can get it done. But I'm going for Vermont here just because of how Vermont has been playing, and this is their conference, okay? The American East is won by Vermont every single year. And I know some people don't think that's like an analysis, or they're like, well, what does that years prior does not mean this year? It does, because John Becker knows how to get the best out of these teams. And if you look right here, since he's been here since, 2012, they've made the NCAA tournament the past 3 years, right? They would have made it this year, but that COVID knocked it out. And they've made it, 5 times in the last 6 years, and this is this year right here, where they're right there back in contention. And they've won, look at this, 10 straight games in a row, which is the 4th longest streak inside the nation. So Maine, they've had an excellent season in conference, 10-6, but it concerns me after an 8-2 start, they started falling apart down the stretch, and Vermont's beaten them twice this year. Yes, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but if there's any team that can do it, it's Vermont. And then keep in mind that in the this league, in the American, the higher seed gets the home game. So this is not played on a neutral floor. It's literally played at Vermont, at the Catamount Stadium, one of the toughest places to play in all of college basketball. It's literally smaller than most high school arenas. I think they can only fit like 5,000 people inside that gym. So it gets rocking, it gets loud, and it's just hard to bet against Vermont in these spots. Do I think Bryant is going to give them a good, tough run for their money? Yes. But this is one of those conferences where it's like it's the 1 or the 2 seed is going to win it majority of the time. This year, Vermont's a 2 seed, so I'm going to take them on the parlay. Those two together get you to plus 115 odds. Pretty good value. Don't overthink it. Now, so 2 bets down, TCU minus 2.5, and then Kansas State, and then Vermont on the money line. Our third and final pick of the day is going to be basically our favorite money line parlay of the day. All the favorites that I'm taking. So you guys probably know who they're going to be, but it's going to be Central Connecticut on the full game. If you want to take Central Connecticut first half, be my guest, okay? You could throw in McNeese in there as well as a huge favorite. They're going to win their game. But I also put together Bryant in this parlay. I did Northern Colorado. And then as I scroll down here, we got Montana at 11:30. So that's a late night 4-legger that's going to get you to plus 191. Now, again, if you want to take out Montana, that gets you to plus 106. If you want to take out Colorado and then you want to throw in, well, you're going to need either Northern Colorado or Montana to get the odds value to get to plus 100, but you can play around with any of those, and then again you can add McNeese in there as well. So to kind of talk about these games real fast from a high level, Central Connecticut, they're at home today against St. Francis, PA. This is the championship game of whatever conference they're in. I want to say they're in the Northeastern Conference. We can go look it up real quick. Central Connecticut. They're in the finals of the Northeast Conference, yes. They right now the nation's longest win streak, 14 wins in a row. We've been riding Central Connecticut majority of the season. I mean, like, we've been backing them. We lost right here. I remember when they lost these back-to-back games, but we didn't falter. We kept taking them, and they've screened us out. They're one of those teams that you can take every single game and you'll probably win. You can see Ken Palmes is a 10-point win for them against St. Francis. They beat them by 16 right here. And then earlier in the season, if we scroll up before their two losses, they beat them by 15. So they've won both of the games pretty handily. This game is at home for Central Connecticut. It is a sold-out game, so it is not on a neutral floor. It is a home game for them. And the fact that they had to escape against Fairleigh Dickinson in overtime, I think that was their wake-up call. And that was really their thing. Hey, we're going to get everybody's best shot. They were winning that game by about double digits at halftime, and they relinquished the lead. And you know what? These teams are not going to give up. And I think it's better to face that in the semifinals than in the finals where you can't recover from it. So Central Connecticut, they're going to grab the dub. And I like them as a team that maybe get a 13 seed, maybe a 12 seed, and they may upset somebody. They're a pretty good squad. I like the way Central Connecticut's been looking this season. We've been backing them pretty often. Now, for the Bryant Bulldogs, I just mentioned them against Vermont. They're the other team in the American East. As you can see, they finished number 1 in conference at 14-2. So now they're going to be taking on University of Albany, and Albany's had a pretty good year. But I like the fact that they lost to this Albany team at home. Now, like I said, it's tough to beat a team 2 times in a row. But the fact that you lose to them once, basically we have a rubber match here, and then you lost to them at home, and now you get the revenge against them back at your place again. That's not only a revenge spot, but that's as good of a revenge spot as you can get because you're playing it in your own backyard in a very familiar environment. So for me, Albany, they've had a great season thus far. Are they a team that could upset Bryant? Sure. But the way that Bryant's looked this season, like I said, the only 2 losses came to this Albany team and then came to Vermont. And that's not a bad loss of Vermont. Vermont versus Bryant in the championship of the American East, that's what everybody wants to see. And that's what's going to happen. So it's going to be that next game. Take Bryant on the money line. Moving on. Northern Colorado. This is an interesting game here. And the reason why is because we have a pretty short line in the Big Sky. But this is one of those conferences. Let's pull up the conference standings real quickly here in the Big Sky so I can kind of show you guys what's going on here. Both of these teams are 15-3. Yesterday, we took Portland State against Idaho, and we lost. But you can see the disparity between Montana and Northern Colorado at 15-3, and then Portland State at 11-7, Idaho State at 10-8. What does that tell you? Basically, the top 2 teams here are the best 2 teams, and everybody else is just there, really. So for me, Northern Colorado, Montana, is it a for sure lock? No. But should they win their games today and face each other for the Big Sky Championship tomorrow? Yes. That's how it should go. That's how both of these teams have been playing. They're the better opponents. And then for me, Northern Colorado, they get a pretty good matchup here with a Montana State team that they were able to beat twice in the regular season. You can see they beat them here by 1 on the road, and then they also beat them here at home by about 8 points. So it is a revenge spot in a way for Montana because, again, it's tough to beat the same team twice, but I think this is just one of those situations, like I mentioned. It is a very top-heavy conference, and that's why I'm taking the Grizz. That's why I'm taking Northern Colorado. Now, if you want to decide, hey, Noble, I got Northern Colorado, I've got the Montana, I only want to take one in a 3-teamer for just plus 100, then I would just go with Montana. And let's look at that game real fast. And another reason why I like Northern Colorado is just for these offensive numbers right here. 93rd in adjusted efficiency, number 7th in effective field goal percentage, number 6 in 2-point percentage, number 56 in 3-point percentage. Whenever you get numbers like this, top 10 numbers, top 25 numbers from a team in the Big Sky, in the SoCon, in the Big West, you gotta, it has to draw to your attention. It's not just because they're playing very bad opponents, but it also speaks to how good those teams are, and that can also lead to them being able not just to win their conference, but also upsetting a team next week when we get to the bigger bracket. But when I talk about the Montana Grizzlies, the reason why I like them in this matchup is not only are they a strong offense, you can see 26th in offensive efficiency and effective field goal percentage, 19th in 2-point percentage, but also Idaho, they've done well. They've gone on a good run. But this is a 14-18 team. This is a team that was 347th in a defensive adjusted efficiency, 315th in effective field goal percentage on the defensive end, 306 in turnover percentage. So they were able to beat Portland State last night in an upset. But that was one of those games where they kind of matched up with Portland State very well. That's why I kind of wanted to stay off of it. I got talked into it. I lost money. But again, I kind of saw what people were talking about when they said they matched up well. Well, they don't match up well against this Montana team. Why? Because this Montana team is big on the inside. They shoot a whole lot of twos, but they can also shoot the ball very well from the three-point line that stretches you out. And when you have a very good offense against a very, very weak defense like Idaho's, you ask them to do something out of their character come conference time. It's one thing like Delaware, they're hitting shots right now. They didn't hit shots in the regular season, but they're hitting shots. That's what but they're still playing good defense. That's why they're going on a run in the CAA. But it's completely different when you're asking a team to do something that they don't do. So asking Idaho to play defense, and when they're ranked 20th in defensive efficiency, that's not going to be their game. So unless they can keep up offensively with Montana, which I don't see how because Montana has a size advantage here, I like Montana to grab the win here against Idaho. So we're going to go Central Connecticut on the money line here. We've got Bryant on the money line. We've got not Lamar. I don't know how Lamar got in there. We've got Northern Colorado. And then we've also got, let's see here, Montana. Those three legs get you to plus 191. We're locking that in. Again, you could take out one leg if you want to be more safe. But that's what we're going with for today on today's episode of the Free Three, the three best bets of the day. Central Connecticut on the money line, Bryant on the money line, Northern Colorado on the money line, Montana on the money line. All those favorites get you to plus 191. If you want to play around with them, I would take Central Connecticut on the first half. I do like that as well. Our other parlay of the day is going to be Kansas State and Vermont on the money line. I like both of these teams to grab the win. Vermont, the spread a little scares me just a little bit because I do think this is going to come down to a one-possession game or to a one-point game, but I do think Vermont's going to pull it out. And then finally, we got TCU minus 2.5, but this is one that I would also take on the money line with like Cincinnati as well. Again, play around some of the first halves on some of the big teams like McNeese, things of that nature, but all these teams should handle business, and that's what we're locking in on this Tuesday card. So I try to give you some value. I try to give you some bankroll builders. I'm starting the ladder challenge again. Not at $10 this time. I'm doing 100. The goal is to go to 100 to 100K, or as far as, until my book kind of limits me, because I doubt they'll let me put a 50K bet in. But we'll see if they will. So we're going to try to build it up to that point, and we're going to see what happens. And some of these ladder legs that I'm putting together, that's how you do it. And the reason why I'm kind of showing you guys, the reason why I spread it out, not only based on teams and time slots and stuff, is because I want you guys to get creative with some of the slips that you're putting together. You can do Kansas State, Central Connecticut, and Bryant if you're like, I don't want to risk the Vermont game. Cool. If you want to, that's why I'm kind of doing it like this. I'm taking on a little bit of extra risk by kind of spreading it out and time slotting it. But I want you guys to do, hey, I'm only looking to make one bet today. I'm only looking to cash in on one play. This is the play that I'm going to go with. Plus 100. It's safe. It should hit. All the favorites should hit. And obviously that doesn't always happen. But again, it's sometimes better to do that than to spray 10, 15 bets and you are now going 9 of 8 and you've just barely cracked even for the day, right? So keep in mind, there are a few different strategies that you guys can apply here, but we have a full day of worth of games and then some added plays I'm going to add at Noble Living on the Action Network, okay, my friends? I'll have a few more totals and stuff for you guys on some of the later games that we have in the ACC and the Big 12 and things of that nature, all right? And if you stay to this point in the video, I greatly appreciate you. Last thing, I'm going to look up while we're here, since I got you guys here on stream and you guys are used to watching people forever on stream, I want to look up something real fast. I want to go to the futures market and I want to see what they have. I want them to lock in one more future before the bigger conference tournament started. And I want to see, to make the Final Four, I want to see if they got Houston at plus 150. I want to see, because I think they win the Big 12 tournament. And I wanted to see if we can get them at plus 200. I don't think we're going to be able to. So at this point, I'm going to wait just to see if they get upset. And if they do, we might be able to get them at plus 200. But there's going to be one more that I'm going to lock in before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of conference tournament time. So I will send you guys what that additional future is going to look like. But I do know it's going to come in either the Big 12 or the SEC. We're not getting a whole lot of value on Houston right now. Value at Alabama at 210 isn't bad as well. To make the Final Four, I do kind of like that as well. So I'm gonna look at trying to grab one of these guys before the bracket comes out, because I believe at that point it's gonna be about like it's gonna be like plus 125, plus 130, maybe plus 150, depending on like what the route looks like. So I want to be able to get the best odds possible. So this kind of time I want to talk about some futures with some of you guys. We already locked in Clemson to make the Final Four at plus 1600, but I do like this Maryland here at plus 874 as well. They're one of my sleeper teams. So be on the lookout. Tomorrow I'll load up a future. I'm going to see if we can maybe get Houston at plus 200. That is kind of going to be one of the trigger numbers that I'm looking for here. So I just kind of wanted to bring that to y'all's attention, all right? So that is it for me today, my friends. Appreciate y'all for tapping in every morning. It's your boy Noble Living here. If you drop a comment as usual, if we sweep the board, then we're going to Venmo somebody some money, all right, my friends? Appreciate y'all for tapping in. As always, dictate your fate, get to that cheddar, and I'll see y'all in tomorrow's video. Later, guys.